Welcome to Scam of the Week. I'm Michael West, your special envoy for scams. Scam of the Week is the place where you get the unvarnished take on business and politics. In a few minutes, the no waffle zone. And we have stiff competition again this week for Scam of the Week, as the scams, as always, are many. There's Albo's special envoy to combat anti-Semitism. There's the ANZ Bank robbing everybody again. The IPA scam to keep fossils burning for longer. And America tells us it's time to arm up for a war with China. But how about the good old ANZ Bank, eh? Not only were they eager participants in the BBSW bank rigging scam, the bank bill rigging scam, rather, where they got a slap on the wrist and settled on the courthouse steps. First of the big four banks to settle, but as the AFR revealed this week, in a break from their usual diet of fossil fuel eulogies, they've been manipulating the bond market by lying about the volume of government bonds that they trade. That's the ANZ latest scam. Lying to the AOFM, the government agency who presides over the bond market. Why did they do it? They did it to talk up their volumes, to double count, to make it look bigger than they were and make a profit by doing so. When it came to the press, of course, suddenly when they were busted on the front page of the Fin Review, they blamed some little back office guy in Bangalore for getting the numbers wrong. Did nobody in management ask how they made a year's trading profit in one day? It was just this guy in Bangalore. The guts of it is, it's a fraud. It's gaining a financial advantage by deception, making a profit and getting bigger bonuses by driving down the price of bond futures. A scam. The politics is interesting because the corporate regulator ASIC is in a spot of bother at the moment, with a Senate inquiry finding that it is so hopeless on enforcement of white-collar crimes that it needs to be broken up. And so this is perfect timing for Chairman Joe Longo at ASIC to look strong, even pursue criminal charges. The story appears to have been dropped or leaked to the AFR to put pressure on ANZ to settle quickly and in a big way and with an admission of guilt. They don't want, neither party wants this drawn out, ASIC or ANZ. ASIC, they've got this Senate report hanging over their head, and ANZ, well, they were mucking around with the last prosecution, the BBSW, for 3 or 4 years. And during that time, they lost 3 or 4% of their market share in mortgages. Hundreds of millions of dollars in profit, if not billions. So what do? They made a takeover for Suncorp Bank to get it back, that 3 to 4%. How that got through, heaven knows. Whatever the case, the bigger the scam, the lesser the penalty in Australia. But what's the scam with Albo appointing Gillian Siegel to the new office of Special Envoy to combat anti-Semitism? There was a lot of blowback about this, including from the progressive Jewish lobby group, Jewish Council of Australia, the Good Guys, which does not back Netanyahu, which is pro-peace. The blowback was because Siegel has been a Zionist lobbyist who supports the bombing of hospitals in Gaza. Remember when they denied that they bombed that first hospital, the Al-Shifa hospital, that it was Hamas? Now they've bombed all 36. They're still going. And what do? We appoint a special envoy to combat anti-Semitism. It's in the words. The agenda is in the words. A special envoy to combat anti-Semitism. And they've also announced an envoy for Islamophobia. Oh, nothing to combat there, just for. It's quite bizarre, the whole Zionist racket. And surely on its last legs. The lies are big Dangian and relentless. The whole issue is very basic. People do not like genocide. Address the drinking, not the hangover. You won't see it in the MSN, but the UN is in despair this week about Israel bombing 4 schools in 4 days. Already in 9 months, 16,000 children have been killed in this so-called war, or many more if the estimates in the Lancet the preeminent scientific journal in the world are correct. 180,000 dead. How would you know? So many buried under the rubble. Yet we're selling Israel weapons parts and only going as far as expressing deep concern. Oh, and here's a scoop. Buried in the traditional data dump late on Friday, before Parliament went into winter recess, we have quietly renewed the lease on the Tel Aviv Trade Office so we can do even more business with Benjamin Netanyahu, murder and torture co. Here is the fix from the Special Envoy for Common Sense. Somebody buy our politicians and Israel war lobbyists a mirror. Then they might see what the problem is. And the Ruperteers, the News Corp people, sallied forth this week with a cracking front page. Washington has told us to arm up for a war with China. Oh, they go on about China, don't they? China spends more money on internal security than on its armed forces. But they didn't just tell us, they decreed that we must arm up. Next to the oleaginous eulogy about the greatest man in world history, Johnny Howard, let's spend some more money on submarines which won't arrive for at least 10 years. Is $368 billion not enough? Meanwhile, on matters of climate, they've just sentenced another protester to jail. Great work, guys. Well done. Mollycoddle the war and the fossil lobbies and pack climate protesters off to the big house and ban uni students from protesting. Gee, we're really heading in the right direction here. This neoliberalism, the dying days. The NPC, the National Press Club, on Tuesday, here's another one. The Attorney General Mark Dreyfus held forth on money laundering, which is incidentally leading to huge foreign inflows into Australia's property markets. That's why they're not doing anything about it. Driving up prices. Marky Mark blamed the coalition. To quote him, "It has long concerned me that the former coalition government failed to keep our laws up to date," he said. As a result, Australia is falling short of meeting the standards required to combat criminal abuse of our financial system, and is at increased risk of becoming a haven for money laundering. Increased risk made it happen 15, 20 years ago. Marky Mark. Successive governments have been dithering on introducing the AMLCTF Tranche 2 legislation, which targets lawyers, property developers and accountants from money laundering. They've been dithering on these laws for 17 long years. That's Howard, Rudd, Gillard, Rudd, Abbott, Turnbull, Morrison and now Albo. You guys have had 2 years in office. I'd rate this a bipartisan failure, not a coalition issue solely, although they were useless and did have 9 years to do something about it. And yes, you have announced another crackdown. Well, let's see it. Let's see some action rather than words. But how about that IPA, the Institute of Public Affairs, the charity? Yes, it has charity status, which espouses freedom and free markets, except when it's a Liberal Party policy. And yes, it's okay to spend $100 billion or so on nuclear reactors because nobody in the free market will touch it. Coming in hard and fast on Tucker Carlson's Coal is Great tour of Australia, the IPA and Sky News shimmied along with this bizarre claim that renewables were likely to be, wait for it, 5 to 6 times as expensive as coal. As always, the opposite is true, probably 5 to 6 times cheaper than coal, not to mention the effect on climate. And this is so because, and we'll let you in on this extremely complicated, sophisticated science, wind and sun are free. They are not produced by multinational exporters. No, they are free. So the scam of the week goes to the fossil lobby for sheer chutzpah in renewable BS, asserting black is white, up is down, and wrong is right. Sheer Trumpism. Thank you for your support. Please like, share, and comment in the section below.